just a preview of the Baylor versus Texas State football game. They run an air raid offense, but they're 98th in the country in terms of offense, so not that great. Their offensive line weight on average is 305.3 pounds. Their quarterback will be Lane Hatcher, who last year was at Arkansas State and threw over 2,400 yards with 19 touchdowns, but did also throw 13 interceptions as well. And he's not a scrambler by any means, because he had last year negative 54 yards on 50 rushing attempts. The best player I would say on offense is Calvin Hill by far, besides that quarterback. He's 5'7", 168 pound running back. That's number 22. By the way, Lane Hatcher is number 3. But last year, Calvin Hill had 128 rushing attempts for 714 yards with 3 touchdowns. DeLong was 78 yards, 18 receptions for 78 yards. Jamel Jeter is also good. He's number 28, 6 foot, 200 pound running back. 91 rushing attempts for 384 yards with 8 touchdowns. And 10 receptions for 29 yards. But they do have some two guys over 500 yards returning from last year, and those are Javen Banks, that's number 1, 106'2", 170 pound wide receiver, 36 receptions for 548 yards with 5 touchdowns, and Marcel Barbie, that's number 18, 6'2", 192 pound wide receiver, that's a senior, 40 receptions for 520 yards with 5 touchdowns. So those two guys, I know there might be other guys on the list that I have not included. I know, because they just new to the program. But defensively, they run a 3-3-5, and their average defensive line weight is 281.9 pounds. So they're definitely bigger than Albany. Let's be real. And even bigger than BYU in terms of weight, but maybe not as good as BYU, because they are 115th on defense right now. So some players to keep an eye on, like Sion Tupu, that's number 55, 6 foot, 240 pound linebacker. That's a senior, same 5 tackles last year, 20 of them solo, 2.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, and 2 forced fumbles last year. Jordan Revels is 6'1", 260 pound defensive lineman. That's a junior. 59 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery last year. Those two are by far the best. Isaiah Nixon is 6 foot, 230 pound outside linebacker, number 10. That's 40 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, and 4 forced fumbles last year. The Jordan Mask is number 13 at 6'1", 185 pound safety. 40 tackles and 1 interception last year, though I did not include pass breakups. But I will include that starting next game. So, another defensive lineman is like Nico Ezador, that's number 95, 6'2", 209 pound defensive lineman. That's a senior, 39 tackles, 17 of them solo, 3 tackles for loss, and 1 sack. Another safety is Torrey Spears, number 14, 6'3", 200 pound safety. That's a junior, 38 tackles, 14 of them solo, 0.5 tackles for loss, and 1 forced fumble last year. And London Harris is a number 27. That's 6'2", 200 pound linebacker. That's a senior, 33 tackles, 9 solo last year. Cordell Rogers, that's number 3. Probably 5'11" cornerback. That's a senior. 31 tackles, 21 of them solo, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble. So, and another defensive line, 2 defensive linemen to keep on, like Samuel Obeng, number 92, and Jamar Daniels, number 98. Daniels is 5'11", 315 pounds of defensive lineman. That's 13 tackles, 2 of those 1.5 tackles for loss. Obeying is 6'2" and 209 pounds. A defensive lineman, 16 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, and 1 forced fumble. That's just to name some guys. I know there's more on the list, but I just want to go over those key other guys. Of course, they bring back their starting punter and kicker from last year as well. But Seamus O'Kelly is their punter, number 99, 6 foot, 265 pound punter. That's a junior. 60 punts, 2,303 yards. 53 yards is the long, and 38.8 yards, so not great. And 2 of them were over 50 yards last year, and 17 of them landed inside the 20-yard line. Seth Keller is 5'9", 170 pound kicker. That's a junior, number 43. 15 out of 18 on field goals. 1 for 2 on 20 to 29 yards. 6 for 6 on 30 to 39. 8 for 9 on 40 to 49. 0 for 1 on over 50 yards. Long is 48 yards and made 32 extra points out of 32 last year. Well, first of all, you need a bounce back win in a big way. You do. And you got to get more confidence on offense in your passing attack. And in your run game, you got to be better at reading where the open area is. Because in the second overtime, on 2nd and goal at the 5, the blocking was good, but Quaylen Jones, he went through the middle where it was more congested. If he would have gone to the outside, he probably would have scored, because the wide receiver blocking at the time was really good, and nobody was near that area, because everyone was stuck in the middle. Go to the outside. So you got to make the proper read as a running back in terms of where to go. And granted, Tay McWilliams is questionable for the game. Same goes for Jordan Neighbors at wide receiver, as well as Monterey Baldwin. He is questionable. I don't know whether or not they're going to play or not, but I would say just get them ready for next week against Iowa State. No offense to Texas State, but Texas State's not that good. And I know last year it was not that great against Texas State. 29-20 win last year. So the offensive line needs to do something, or pass protection needs to be better than last game. And you got to not be out hustled by the defensive line. And hopefully that's getting fixed starting this week. And I don't care if we show our hand in terms of play calling this week in the passing game. We got to get some more reps and got to be better throwing the ball downfield. I think part of it is we held some of those sacks. We held the ball a little too long. But other times, wide receivers are not getting open and the offensive line was not protecting. So, and penalties need to be cut down on both sides of the ball. I mean, once you got like the 3rd and goal, you had 2 false starts in a row. And you had a holding call, I believe, in one of the overtimes by Ben Sims, and that would have scored a touchdown in the first overtime. Yeah, that's right. There was a holding call, and Score Williams had a touchdown, but if he didn't hold, it would have been a touchdown, because that defender was not going to go get him if Ben Sims didn't hold. So, and you got to be more disciplined. Defensively, I'm not even worried about the run defense. Yes, I know they got 2 good running backs, or at least one of them, like a good running game with those 2 guys, but they shouldn't be able to run the ball, because in the Albany game they couldn't run it. Sure, the quarterback had 45 yards rushing, so that's a little problem. But after that, nobody else had any clue how to run against this Baylor defense. And BYU struggled to run the ball too, and they were more primary run than pass, but they had to pass a lot more because the run game was not working. Obviously, penalties on that side of the ball need to be cleaned up too, and please no personal foul targeting in this first half or second half. I don't care. You don't need to have that penalty, especially when next week starts conference. You got to get more of a pass rush. Get some sacks in this game. Get more sacks. Kind of step up defensive line on pass rush. And maybe we could mix it up as well, like bring blitzes and get sacks instead of just run. And you got to make sure, I know this quarterback here might not be a scrambler by any means, but don't lose containment on a quarterback, period, in terms of pass rush. So you could keep him in the pocket, but you gotta get there, because I know last game you were almost there sometimes against Jaren Hall. He just released the ball 1 second 1 second before you got there. So you gotta get there quicker. And the pass defense, that needs some work. The safeties I'm not worried about now. It's the cornerbacks that need to be better. I mean, last game, if you count how many plays that BYU had over 20 yards, it's not many of them. It's 3. But for sure less than 5 on offense. So, and I didn't mention this on the offensive side of things, but you need to get some bigger runs than last game too, without any penalties. Special teams wise, the punting game was great with Isaac Power, but you got to make extra points. I don't care if it's a bad snap, bad hold, or bad kick. You got to clean that up. Same goes for field goals. I mean, last week, if we would have made that first field goal in overtime, and then BYU missed it, game's over. Or if you made the extra point in regulation on that first touchdown, and BYU tried to go for a field goal, just go for the win, and they missed it, like they did in the regulation, you would have won. Let's take out all the frustration from last week and apply it to this week and improve on all aspects of the game. Because next week you have Iowa State on the road. And thank goodness that is an 11 a.m. game and not like a night game by any means. So you got it, and get out of the game injury free. That's all I want to. So I think we should be fine in this game. Just don't make it closer than it should be when compared to last year, please, because the penalties hurt us last year against Texas State, besides the fumbles. And hopefully we put them away early enough that Kyron Drones could get some reps in the game too. I mean, at quarterback, just to get ready, because it doesn't hurt to get more reps for your backup quarterback, because anything could happen, you know. So I just want to go over the preview here. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get into the 400 subscribers and more by the end of this year. Also, I have noticed that in the past, I have had more viewers than subscribers in the past. So I don't know what it is. I get part of it sharing, but at the same time, If you're watching and not subscribed, please do subscribe and comment on the stuff. Comment on this because it helps the analytics, and even likes do. And I know I might have some highlights in there, but I know that technically doesn't. You could just hit the like because I know there's COPA laws and sports go under highlights, go under that type of particular thing, sit under that. So just like it, share it, and if you like the stuff, subscribe, please. So, and be good to each other and be reasonable as well.